What's up guys, your boy CJ back with another video. Because I'm doing well, I'm doing pretty well myself. I'm sorry if you can hear background rain or crying, because that's my brother crying and it's raining outside, so bear with me. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about, for another Photoshop tutorial, we're going to be talking about the stamp tool. Now the stamp tool is a very powerful tool. You know what, I'm just going to show you how powerful it is and how to really utilize it to its maximum potential, of course. Alright, let's get into it. So we're back. Anyway, so as you can see from this picture, I already loaded up one and it's very obvious what's the flaw in this picture. And before we get started, I want to shout out to Wendy. Wendy is the girl inside this picture. I know she's very pretty, so yeah. Anyway, so Wendy is the one that asked me to help out with her picture, and also she decided, and she agreed for me to use her picture, for example. Note, I did not edit the entire picture tone quality. If you know my style, it's not like this. This is her editing style. But she did ask me to help out with this, this hose, and I, thought it was a good idea to talk about it, since it's not every day you encounter such a big flaw in the picture. Anyway, she's a very great photographer and a very great designer. And without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first. Before you get started, you might want to get copy of the layer. You can do that by Control J or Command J in Mac. And to start with, you're gonna want to choose the clone stamp on the left side here. It's kind of very obvious. It's the clone tool here. It's a stamp tool. So there's two types. There's the pattern stamp tool and there's the clone stamp tool. Now you're gonna want to choose the clone stamp tool because that's what we're gonna use today. So first things first, the proper method of doing this is basically to copying whatever part that you selected accordingly to the size of your brush. In this case, I'm going to select using alternate, and I'm going to left click on it. So I left click on this top here. So what's going to happen if I move my cursor around, you're going to see the color is exactly identical with this one up here. Now take a look when I click on it. So as you can see, there's a small reticle on top, or cross reticle. That's basically the part of where it is copying, and it tracks accordingly on where you click it. Now, for example, if I click left to right or right to left, it's gonna follow accordingly. Now, I'm gonna select my flow to 100% and my opacity 100% because it makes this video a lot easier. Make your brush, hardness to 0%, easier for you to deal with. Anyways, so the trick to using this tool is to constantly select and click on it. Do not drag. The reason why I said not to drag is because depending on your picture, there's different shadows and situation. For example, this here is the light, darker, and this part here is a lot lighter. So if you want to make like this in between, this is a perfect example of a very difficult situation. Now, what would I do normally? I will always start with the, if there's edges, I always select the edges and go down and start messing with them. And always remember to try to make it as identical as you can to the top. You don't have to be very perfect in your first go. You can always readjust it, refine it later on. But for your starting point, it's a very good idea to get yourself a good one. Now notice I constantly go up and reselect. The reason why I do that is to avoid it goes down to the part where it's flawed. And it tracks down. As I said, this thing tracks and it's going to go down accordingly as you go down. As I go down, as you can see, the reticle on top. So yeah, you do not want that. And another thing is always constantly select the situation on where you might want to do it. For example, right here, I constantly click instead of, you could be using, let's say, for example, dragging around. I don't recommend that because you might accidentally copy some parts that you don't want. And some people just don't like that. Like for example, if I didn't notice, I accidentally clicked on it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna undo that, and there it fixed. So I'm gonna keep clicking on this. Now, do note that because of the situation, there's different shades, and you always have to keep an eye out for shades of different colors and different tones depending on the brightness and stuff like that. And it's not an easy tool to use for beginners because, as just admitted, Photoshop is not an easy tool to begin with. Anyways, so now as you can see, it's pretty much, you know, we already got rid of it, but as you can see, it's still not as beautiful as you want it to be. How I would do it personally, I always make it, you know, try to blend in between. I always, you know, see, as you can see there, there's the pipes there. So for the grass down here, always, you know, I'm gonna make it smaller, control alternate right click, and you're gonna can control your brush size. Really easy. I'm gonna select and maybe some patches here and there. No, make it perfect looking. It's, you know, for your first try, you might not be able to make it as perfect as you want it to be. It's alright, it's absolutely fine, because, you know, it's not an easy tool to begin with. I'm gonna control my flow a little bit, you know, a little bit lower, easier for me to control it out, to blend the colors. As you know that, you know, colors doesn't of walls always faded over time. That's why it allows me to do this. This video is gonna be a little bit longer than usual because cloning stamp is not an easy tool to use, nor is it an easy one to teach, which is why this is happening. Anyway, hang on. Now, if you notice from here, it's quite obvious there's a flaw, and I'm gonna make a small, you know, triangular shape just because I want to assume there's something behind it. And you're gonna have to be careful on how you use it. Personally, I don't find problem if you know, have an idea of what you want to get. But if you don't, always, you know, always good to find reference as to what the surrounding was like. If you are the photographer, if you're not, ask the photographer what the surrounding was like, then you know what to deal with. Otherwise, be creative, you know. Photography is always about creativity, and you're gonna have to really be creative with this. Notice I keep clicking on it, keep selecting new ones, because I don't want to have copied down to the grass parts. Now, it's almost done. It's not perfect. It's not up to my personal standard. I have a very high standard set for myself. It's just a personal criteria that I really want to keep at hand, because I don't want that. Overall, it looks okay. It's not perfect. It's okay-ish. It could be a lot better, to be honest. Whoa. Sorry. That's the problem with Adobe Photoshop. There's a lot of tools that you got to really master in order to get well at it. So, yeah. Oh, I accidentally copied this part. I'm gonna reselect this part. Oh, look at that. We copied the wrong one again. So, always be careful when using this tool. I'm gonna set the opacity a bit lower so I can, you know, make it blended a little bit. Oh. There we go. Nearly perfect. Now, as you notice, there's the problem with the grass down here. I'm gonna same thing. Gotta clone it. Gonna make the grass, you know, looks more full. I'm gonna select a little bit smaller patch of grass here. It's much easier to deal with. Oh, I'm gonna select 100% because, you know, I want to copy identically. I would suggest using, you know, something like, I don't know, 10% flow, depending on your situation. Again, Photoshop is not an easy tool to use, and a lot of times when you do photography, it's always depending up to the photographer on what taste they want to do with. Now that looks fake as hell, so bump up a little bit of grass. The best thing to do with edges is just copy another part of the edge, and you pretty much have a almost identical part, I guess. As you can see, I accidentally copied Wendy's dress, so I'm just gonna replace it. Now, if you don't zoom in, it looks pretty okay. I mean, it could be a lot better. It depends on you. I personally like this so much. I like this so far. Do remember that always to watch out for where you're selected. Otherwise, you're gonna mess up your entire picture entirely by, you know, copying some parts that you don't want to. So yeah, do, you know, Photoshop is something that after personal preference, and so far for me this is good enough. Although this can be a lot better in my opinion if I have more time, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna shorten this out. So yeah, if you guys have any question, do drop them down in the comment. I'll definitely help you guys out. But so far, that's the end of this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do like and subscribe, hit the notification button, share out to your friends, of course, and comment. All right, and it's your boy CJ out.